from the outside, people think you're crushing it. From the inside, sometimes you're like, am I crushing it? You're crushing it. If you're being a mom and you're running a business, you're crushing it.
Welcome to the Foxy Mama podcast, where creativity meets parenthood. I'm your host, Lindsay Brace, and each week we'll explore the world of creative entrepreneurship and business through the lens of motherhood. Join us as we chat with inspiring mamas and parents sharing their stories, insights, and the art of balancing it all. Whether you're an artist, entrepreneur, or just navigating parenthood, this is your space to find inspiration, helpful tips, and support. Now let's get Foxy Mama. Hey, I'm Lindsay, host of the Foxy Mama podcast, and I'm here with another Lindsay, Lindsay Turner of GetGoodHelp.ca, and mama of two. Lindsay, tell me about yourself.
Hey, I'm also Lindsay, and I'm from Canada. I live in the Niagara region with my husband and two kids, my one son who's 3 and my stepson who's 13. And I started a virtual assistant agency about 1.5 years ago called Good Help. And we've been working together now for almost 1 year and 4 months. So almost the whole time. It's been awesome.
Yeah. So Lindsay also, so we got double Lindsays here. So Lindsay T, she is my assistant, and she manages everything that comes into my inbox. It's such a huge help. So I wanted to dive in and talk about why people need to have a virtual assistant when they're entrepreneurs, small business owners, you name it. Why have an assistant? What are the benefits?
Yeah, so it really just helps entrepreneurs, small business owners get more time back in their life by outsourcing things and passing things off of their plate. They can focus on higher level work, higher impact things, and the things that just bring them joy that maybe those, admin tasks are taking them away from. And there's no cost and commitment and overhead that you would get with a regular employee. So there's a bit of flexibility on both sides. And yeah.
And what inspired you to become an assistant?
Well, my background is in admin, but in the corporate world. So I did that for, my entire single married life until I had kids. And then I went on mat leave in Canada. Bonus, you get a huge mat leave. So that's awesome. But the last 6 months, I was just like, how do I not go back to a 9 to 5? How do I make my skills work for me and not have to be, away from my kid for 8-9 hours a day? And my stepson's mom, we have a great co-parenting relationship. We're really lucky. And so I would chat with her a lot, and she's actually a virtual assistant as well. And so she kind of gave me the insider look at it and showed me some of the ropes. And I was like, this is an obvious fit. My husband is a creative director, so he got very excited and branded it right away and made me a website. And then it was just off to the races, and it was perfect. It was a perfect fit for me.
Yeah. And you're the perfect fit for me. You help my business so much and help me thrive and do all the little tasks that I'm like, oh, shoot, I need to send this email or thought process. And we primarily communicate using Slack, but there are other forms of communication that we do as well. And I'm sure that you have other ways of communicating with your other clients. What are some of the most common tasks, would you say, and projects that you've taken care of that your clients kind of delegate to you?
When we start working with someone, the first thing for sure is obviously that organizational overhaul and getting people's inboxes, like you mentioned, and Google Drive and everything all set up. And that's kind of almost a non-negotiable. That's usually what everybody needs right off the bat. And it makes such an impact right away, but also makes our lives easier as the virtual assistants. So we start with that. And then from there, we now have a better look at what you're doing after going through your inbox and working with you on that. And we can pick out admin support tasks like, helping with invoicing or research, data entry, agreements, any of the little admin things that just kind of pile up that you don't need to do that someone else could easily take off your plate for you. We slowly take those tasks on, and then they become on a recurring basis, and it's something that you, client, doesn't even have to think
Yeah.
about anymore.
Yeah. When we first started working together, one of the first things that you tackled, actually, I think it was the very first thing, was my inbox and setting up my Gmail, which is what I use. But setting that up to like flow better. And I was like, I had no idea that it could operate like this, and that there are easy tabs, and that things could kind of like flow in such a way. And let's dive in and talk about email more. Why is it important that an email box, your messaging system, is set up properly for businesses and entrepreneurs and moms to help them thrive? Why is it so important?
It's totally one of those things that you never would think about being a problem, because you just think everybody just has an inbox, but it's true. As soon as you see it like all filtered out and set up, it's like night and day. It takes away the distractions, and it takes away the noise that usually happens in an inbox. So many newsletters going out these days, which is awesome. I'm here for a newsletter, but it really just takes up space, and it just distracts you. You may be looking for a client email, and there's like, or even an email from your kid's school, and there's like 8 newsletters around it, and you're like, ooh, but that thing. And now you're distracted looking at that newsletter, or even just searching for the original email you were looking for. So just eliminating that problem completely is so impactful. And then, yeah, once you get into the flow of using it in kind of like a inbox zero type method, it's a game changer.
Yeah. And you could also filter out based on clients as well. So you could have all one client go to one folder and another, and like this way everything has their own little tabs. And then you set, so my inbox in particular, you set up things that you need to read through, things that you need to get back to ASAP. And all along the right side of my screen are all these, okay, here's the most crucial, important things right at the top, then the read through ones. And then like, if I want to get to the newsletters, I could get to the newsletters, because I know, like for me, I'm always in for like a good deal. So if something pops up where it's just like $10 off coupon, I do it immediately. And majority of the time, like 99% of the time, I am not buying from them. Even though I want or have full intent to. It's usually like when I'm breastfeeding and I'm like on the scroll or something like that, and something catches my eye, and I was like, oh, I'll get back to it later. So having that kind of separate and that filtration system really is just like a game changer for me. So like, how do you manage your time and prioritize your task while handling everybody else's?
Yeah, honestly, time blocking is everything, and it has made such a difference for sure. Also, Asana. I know we use that together, but I also use it for my own stuff and for my personal stuff too. Like, the watering the plants. I would forget. I have forgotten. So it's important.
Are you laughing at mine because I have watering plants on every Sunday?
I have it too. It's so good. It's like the only way I'm going to remember to do it for sure.
Yeah.
And also keep on top of the bigger things that come through. Mm-hmm. I use Slack with almost all of my clients as well. And they have features now too, where you can save posts or like parts of the conversation and set reminders. So if it's something really small, like, hey, can you just check this thing for me? I'll just set a reminder if I'm not right at my computer. But if it's a bigger task that's kind of ongoing, I'll put it in Asana, and then I won't lose track. And time blocking. So the thing about inboxing and inbox zero and all that is, it's supposed to be, if it's going to take you longer than 2 minutes to reply to an email, then you should save it for later and go to it when you have time blocked out. Mm-hmm. So time blocking times for stuff like that helps keep things flow. There's some statistic about how much time you save, but it's a lot.
Yeah. I can't thank you enough for everything that you have done for me and my business, because I feel that if I didn't have you, I wouldn't be where I am today. And just helping me kind of navigate the ins and outs of my inbox is just such a huge help, as well as like, I'm like, oh, no, I have to get back to this client and I'm, at the doctor's or something like that with the baby, or things are really crazy today. Can you shoot an email to so-and-so saying X, Y, and Z? You do that for me. And that's like tasks like that you handle for your clients.
Love the products you're hearing us chat about on the Foxy Mama podcast? Find all the featured items on my personal Amazon shops page at amazon.com/shop/thelindsayboo. Happy shopping.
So with that said, like, how do you ensure effective communication and collaboration with your clients and with their clients while not being physically present? You're completely 100% virtual.
Yeah, I think Slack, like I mentioned, is obviously our go-to, and any communication tool like that where it's kind of like messaging back and forth can be asynchronous. But also utilizing voice notes. More of my clients are doing that. You've been doing it more, and a couple of my other clients are doing that more and more. And it's just such a quick way. It transcribes it for you. Like Slack has got that figured out. So that's been really awesome. But then also just, regular check-ins. If we're doing like a bigger task, we'll do like a Loom video. So it's like, you take a screen share of your screen doing a process and send it over. Then that person can rewatch it and really understand it. These types of tools, like face-to-face calls, they don't even have to happen that often. You can still feel like you're really connected.
Yeah. And let's dive a little deeper into like these programs that we're talking about. Cause someone might not know like, oh, what's Slack? What's Slack? What's Asana? What's a Loom video? All these things. So like, I absolutely love Slack. I've been using Slack for a very long time. I don't even know. And I've tried to get others on board way back in the day when they like first launched, and I had, was on a board. I'm like, guys, we have to use Slack for communication versus like a giant email thread. For me, Slack just keeps everything organized. There are like little channels that you could add where, you and I have like updates and notifications. So when you're checking my inbox and saying, okay, this needs to get back to you, that's where you put it in. Then there's like the direct message feature. And we talked about the voice notes feature. I love that you could have it on your phone. It's not just like a desktop thing. The majority of the voice notes I'm sending to you, because I'm either on the go or running from place to place with my babe, with my little Foxy man, or like breastfeeding is where I got a lot of brainstorming done, because I'm basically like sitting there. You can't do much. You breastfed as well. So it's just like, you can't really do much, but your brain is going. And forget about typing, because like you don't have two hands and you could barely type, text with the one hand. So voice notes are everything for me. How would you describe Slack for someone who doesn't know what it is?
Yeah, it's like a old school MSN Messenger type thing coming back to the future, right? It's conversations back and forth where you can save things, you can file things, you can categorize things. You have the options of voice notes, you can do polls, you can do anything. Like it's a very advanced tool. It's awesome. I actually am going to start using it. I have started using it with just my husband, because the amount of times we'll be texting each other and I'll want to like just save a message, like pin it, because you can do that in Slack. And I'm like, like, why can't you do that in texting? And it's awesome. Yeah, you can save things for later so you can come back to them, pin them to the channel.
Yeah.
Very, very helpful.
I've also tried to get my husband on Slack, especially like for our business, like, and just running things. And it's just like so helpful. I finally did get him on LastPass. And then, this is like a year of using LastPass, or a year of asking him to use it. And he finally did like last week, and he's like, why didn't you tell me about this like sooner, like jokingly? And I was like, oh, it's so great. And then for those of you who don't know, like LastPass is, basically it stores all your passwords for you. You could get like a little Chrome extension or a browser extension. And it just plugs it in, for you. So you don't have to. You could delegate like little sections of, okay, this is for the business, this is for the household. and all that. We also talked about Asana. And I want to dive a little bit deeper into Asana because, as you said, we use it for saying, let's water our plants and keep a task on that. I've also used ClickUp. I prefer Asana. And the reason why is when I do complete those tasks, a little unicorn just goes across the screen, or like, it's just like that little magical, like happy little thing. And you just feel like a reward, like, ooh, I've checked this off. And I'm a task person, like list, where physically it feels so good to do that little check mark. So to have something virtual that does that is amazing. How can clients, how can business owners and people in general utilize Asana?
Yeah, Asana is it's like a checklist type thing, like you said, but also you can put in full workflows. You can use it like a calendar. I use it in the weekly view usually for my own personal tasks. There's so many ways you can customize it to work for you, which is awesome. We use it for project management with all of our project management clients. We get them on board. I've used ClickUp before and other things as well, and they are actually awesome as well, but they're a little bit more work, and you almost don't want more work when you're trying to make less work for yourself, right? So Asana is a little bit more like user friendly right off the bat, and yeah, we love it.
Yeah, I absolutely adore Asana, and I've used ClickUp, I've used Trello. What I like about Asana too is color coding, which I know that you can do that with the other things, but as you mentioned, it's a little bit more work, a little bit more in depth, and maybe it might work for like a larger company. Trello is definitely one of those things that work for, somebody that has like 30 people plus, all working together. And I feel like Asana is really great for the small mom entrepreneur type workflow situation. As well as keeping track of like the household. I have one specifically just for household tasks: laundry, watering plants, running to the post office. And it does feel so good with that little check mark, putting that task, getting it out of the way. It's an app for your phone. It works on your desktop. And as mentioned, that little unicorn or the little Asana little creature that they have, and it changes. They're all a little different. So what advice would you give individual businesses kind of looking to hire a virtual assistant or assistant for the first time?
My biggest piece of advice there, I think, is just to make sure that they're the right fit for you, and to interview, or not, they're not interviews, but do discovery calls with as many as you think might be the right fit for you. Get a good amount of conversations in ahead of time and make sure, because it's more than just someone doing your admin work, right? This person is like deep in your business. They are in your email. You need to really trust them. You need to really feel like you have a good connection with them. And that's probably the most important part. A good way to make sure, like, it might be, if you're not 100% sure, but you're pretty sure and you want to avoid the whole awkward, like, ooh, maybe it's not a good fit, start with like a 3-month contract type thing. Make sure in that time that it's great, and then it's less awkward to maybe try someone else. But that being said, we have had such good relationships. Many of our clients have become our friends. Like, it's been really, really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I consider you like one of my good friends, and we've never actually met in real life.
Like that's crazy to think. It feels like for sure we have. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking almost on a day-to-day basis, weekends aside. Sometimes weekends, we're powering
sending Instagram memes to each other.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big. Yeah, definitely scrolling when breastfeeding. And I'm like, oh man, you got to see this video.
Yeah.
But it's just so good to have you a part of my business and helping me thrive. And I feel that all mompreneurs and entrepreneurs and anyone like really needs to have that, because asking for help is like the first step, to success, they say. And just tackling my email was like the first step. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And I remember when that we first had that conversation of, should I hire this person? And I think I had like several, people fill out applications and just going through, and you were the first one. And I found you like via LinkedIn. You didn't even fill out, the form that I had everybody else fill out. And I was like, I just have a really good vibe about her. And her name's Lindsay, and she spells it with an A. And it'd be like the Lindsay and Lindsay team. And, we've been working together almost a year and a half, which is crazy to think about. But you've just really helped my business. And I feel that everyone needs to have a virtual assistant. Yeah. So how do you do it all? How's the mom life, work life balance? And what is your like best tidbit of advice that you could offer anyone out there?
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where you have to know what you're biting off here. It's a lot, but it's also so worth it. The like work-life balance part of it. I even say on my website, like I'm helping people get their work-life balance by having my best work-life balance. Like I use that term a lot, but one of my clients recently said, does work-life balance even exist? And she had a really great point, and it really resonated with me, which was often it just feels like you're striving towards that balance when really what you should be striving towards is almost like a harmony between everything. It's so many things at one time. Like, you'll be like breastfeeding, but also, being a boss girl, like you're doing it all at the same time. Yeah. And the harmony between them and being a partner and a friend and everything and being your own person, that's almost like a bigger thing to be striving for. And it felt really accurate. It really resonated with me, giving yourself that grace to know, you are just one person trying to do it all, and everyone's doing their best. And from the outside, people think you're crushing it. From the inside, sometimes you're like, am I crushing it? You're crushing it. If you're being a mom and you're running a business, you're crushing it.
I love it. That I was like, wow, I really needed to hear that myself today. Like, oh, and we should be really supporting other moms and just tell them, they're crushing it. Totally. And they're thriving. I mean, if you're keeping a human alive and you're running your business, you're doing all these things. So where can we find you? Where can listeners find you?
Yeah, so my website is GetGoodHelp.ca, and my Instagram is also GetGoodHelp.ca. I had to add the .ca when I had to, get a new account because Instagram shut the old one down through one of those old things. But you can edit that part out. I said too many words. But yeah, you can find me at getgoodhelp.ca, and my Instagram handle is also getgoodhelp.ca. Those are the two places I'm most active. And yeah, I'd love to see some new faces.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day, doing all the things and things for other people, assisting them in all their virtual needs. It was really great to have you, and I'm really lucky that you're part of my team and part of Team Foxy. Thank you so much.
Thanks. I feel so lucky to be a part of the team, and I always love chatting with you. This has been awesome. Thanks so much.
The Foxy Mama podcast is here to entertain and share general insights. Our content is not a substitute for personalized advice from professionals like financial advisors, physicians, or therapists. So enjoy the Foxy vibes, but consult the superheroes for personalized advice.